All right, welcome to Bleav in Packers. I'm your host, Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher. My good friend and teammate Alex Fernando here to break down and recap the Packers win, going on the road down to Nashville, Tennessee to get the win, 30-14. Like, man, I knew we both picked the team to win. We were trying to figure out
hmm
what was the score we picked, but it really doesn't matter. But because it was a big victory in terms of the points scored. But let's get into it, right now. So the recap of that, what were some of the key performance from your point of view, and I'll give my shot as well on this, Alex. So going into talking about this, start the conversation on this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely big win by the Packers. There's not many times you double up another team in the NFL when
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the score. 30-14, so 16-point victory. That's a big win for the Packers, who are very quietly 2-1. You look at the rest of their
Yes.
division. Vikings got all the hype with 3-0. Lions, we know them from the NFC Championship last year. They're 2-1. Bears are a mess because they're young and don't know what's going on, and Caleb Williams and all that. And so they're 0-3. And the Packers are just hiding in the weeds there at 2-1, winning the way they should. Again, that tough, close loss to the Eagles, but then you come back with two solid victories at home. A solid victory at home, and then this one on the road. It was essentially a
Yeah.
home game for Malik Willis. We talked about him going back to Tennessee. The place
Exactly.
drafted him, and he did a great job. One, not making this game about himself, but then showing up and making the game about himself. Like in the media, he was
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Hey, I'm there with my team. We're here to win a game." But then when he got on the field, that dude just balled out. We talked
Yes,
about
he
him
did.
having a big game, like coming home, wanted to prove something. 202 yards passing, had just 6 incompletions and a touchdown, and then 73 yards and a touchdown on the ground on 6 carries, averaged over 12 yards a carry. He's my highlight. Like Malik Willis was just everywhere you needed him to be on offense. He made the
Mm-hmm.
right decisions when it came to run. He pulled the ball a couple times, fooled the Tennessee defense, and then made great decisions in the passing game. Just kept that offense moving the whole game.
Yeah, and like you said, making the defense kind of guess. When he pulled that ball, they just got a chance to show off his legs or what he can do. So it's going to be a fun little mix of combination of him later in the season and Jordan Love. There might be some packages that now. Not saying that Matt LaFleur and the staff going to do it, but they
Mm-hmm.
have an option now to say, hey, we want to mix it up for defense, man. We got Malik, that's more of a scrambling, but he can throw too, and Jordan, that we know he's a pure passer back there and can use his legs a little bit to extend the pocket. Now we have this as another option of
Yeah.
attacking the defense if we have to face them later, face a good defense later in the year.
And on top of that, you're building Malik's confidence with each of these wins.
100%.
So now you have a very confident backup quarterback. So when he steps in the game, you don't have a situation like the Dolphins where they're rotating multiple backup quarterbacks because they don't know what to do.
Hmm.
And like with the Packers, you have that confidence because you have so many weapons around Malik. You have him playing well and performing well. He has kind of a key game under his belt now. And
Yes.
you got a tough one coming up. We'll preview that on Thursday. But just coming away from this performance, I think one of the most important things that I saw was command of the offense. Whether it's Jordan Love or Malik Willis, the Packers can feel comfortable with their quarterback.
100%. And then more friends in the backfield. You bring in Emmanuel Lewis, who was able to get a lot of share carries over Josh Jacobs, but still, Emmanuel has 50 yards on 12 carries. Josh
Mm-hmm.
Jacobs 14 carries for 43 yards. So both averages are great, 4.2 for 3.1. Having that combination of that, and then Malik's legs as well. Him, keeping the defense honest, like I've always said. When
Three-headed
you have
rushing monster right there.
three-headed rushing monster, and the pass game is also still there, then you really test it, and the Tennessee defense didn't pass that test, obviously, because of just knowing that. I say they probably didn't expect that, right? They didn't probably expect the run game to be so potent, not just Josh Jacobs, but finding that it was going to be Wilson. Marshawn Lynch was a guy that was productive, but then got hurt. Now he's on IR. But now you got
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel, another young guy, I think second year guy for the Packers. He's been on the roster since last year. So just the youth movement for the Packers roster, I enjoy, because when you have young guys, that's dangerous. But then it's also young guys that are working together and they actually know the scheme. They know the offense. They know if they're a defensive player, they know what they got to do on defense. Those are really extremely dangerous players. And so I like this team for that reason. Just the wide receivers still, showing up. Christian Watson's, he only had 2 receptions, but for 67 yards. Jaden Reed, 4 receptions for 50 yards. Emmanuel Wilson also chipped in with 35 yards there as well. And then everybody else, I'm looking at
Seven
9, or is it
Seven
7?
guys caught a pass. Seven guys caught
Exactly.
a pass. 8 guys got targeted.
Huge.
Yeah, again, like we've been talking about with this team, you don't know who the ball's going to. And
Mhm.
a lot of times, if you're playing different teams in the league, I mean, you look across at the next game in Minnesota Vikings, they're going to give it to Justin Jefferson. They are
Oh,
going to
yeah.
feast Justin Jefferson. Probably going to feast Aaron Jones a little bit, who is the ex-Packer. But the Packers have so many guys, and you mentioned Wilson coming in. You did not go into this game, if I'm the Tennessee Titans, thinking, oh, I got to guard Malik Willis and Emmanuel Wilson on the edge in the rushing attack. I just got to focus on Josh Jacobs between the tackles. That was all they're worried about all week.
Correct.
Let's tackle Josh Jacobs, and then we'll be okay. They tackled Josh Jacobs. He actually had kind of a mediocre day by his standards because I think the Tennessee Titans focused on him. That let Malik Willis and Emmanuel Wilson just run wild because the Titans didn't think they were a threat. And then that opens up
100%.
the passing game. You unload the box. You get some guys spread out. And that's how you have 7 different receivers catching a pass, 7 different players catching a pass in this game, 8 different players targeted. Malik Willis, again, very much like Jordan Love was in game 1, and like we'll probably see this season when he comes back, distributing the ball across the field to everybody. So many weapons, so many people can be catching a pass in this offense.
Yeah, and that's what's going to make this offense effective, and has been effective the last couple of weeks. Last year too, when they were introducing all the young receivers, Jaden, the Datavion, all them guys getting in there and helping out. Christian Watson coming back from the hamstring, look like he's playing good. So that offense for the Packers very effective. Now, for any other team coming down the slate, we know that we're going, like I said, we're talking about the Vikings matchup on Thursday. But every team is definitely on notice that this team is not just a pass team. This team also can run the ball, and they have players from the quarterback to the running back positions that could get the job done. So let's shift gears. Go ahead.
That's right. Yeah, I was just going to say, best part of a successful offense is options. You have lots of options. Yeah, there you go. You got to start repping. They win a game, man.
I had it right here. I just forget to put it on.
Well,
I'm moving between so many shows right now.
That's a statement win, man. We got to definitely rep some green and gold. And yeah, you have options. That's the number one thing I'm taking away from the early part of this season with the Packers. Anybody on this field can catch a pass, can run the ball, can score, and that keeps the defense guessing.
Yeah, and keeping the defense guessing, they're just one tick behind, and you want to keep that going. So let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball, which we look at the stats here. The defense, again, played well. I love Zaire Alexander and his pick 6 there. But the rest of the defense, we have from linebackers to D linemen to outside linebackers, all helped out with getting 8 sacks of Will Levis and the Titans offense there. So having that, and then a couple turnovers there, a lot of sticky fingers, again, for the defensive backs. I'm not sure. I think it was Xavier McKinney, again, getting himself another pick. So this Packers defense, man, is something that we know we always talked about. It was always aware of, but now I think they're cranking up to the next level, helping the offense out by creating these turnovers, by getting these sacks, and really posing as a factor where I think when we go into games now, the show that's carrying the game, if it's Thursday night football, if it's Monday night football, if it's Sunday night football, they're going to be talking about this Packer defense right now. I mean, and it's really the younger guys. Again, we got McKinney in the defensive backfield, Eric Wilson in the defensive backfield, are going out there, making big plays and making their presence known. And I think that's an important part, because then other offenses, quarterbacks, coordinators are being, really cautious of how they plan out their game plan and how to try to attack the Packers defense right now. Because not saying they don't have no weaknesses, but they have a lot of strong parts that makes up for ground in trying to prepare and compete against this defense.
Yeah, the key, they're doing it at every level. That's one of the best parts about this Packer defense. Fun stat for you is all of last season, the Packers had 7 picks. They got 7 picks already this year. And you mentioned McKinney. He's got 3 of them. He's got 1 in each game. So that's what you want to see from your star players like Jaire Alexander. He read that pick 6 all the way. That's going to happen, and beautiful. That's the benefit of playing a young quarterback. We talked about that in the pregame. You want to take advantage of this game while you get Will Levis early in the season. Make him make the mistakes and take full advantage of them, like that pick 6, and putting a lot of pressure on him while he's holding the ball a little bit longer. Later in his career, he probably won't be doing that. So again, 8 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, couple pass deflections, and 12 QB hits. That was the number that really stood out for me. Separate of the 8 sacks, they still hit him another dozen times. That's 20 hits on the quarterback. That's 20 times going around.
QBs don't like that.
No, especially a young QB who was like trying to figure out his offense and has all sorts of new things going on in his head. So the Packers defense is doing exactly what they need to do this early part of the season. Get those big wins, pressure the quarterback the way they're supposed to, and then let their advanced and experienced secondary just go to work, like feast on those interceptions. They had 7 picks all last season. They got 7 already this year through 3 games. That's a big turnaround for that defense.
Yeah, big turnaround for sure. And they had, they're playing against the Titans. They have DeAndre Hopkins, who is a known number 1 receiver, but kept him quiet. Kept him. He did get a touchdown. He had 6 receptions for 73 yards. But obviously, the adjustments were in place where they basically was able to put that pressure on Will Levis. Test his mental and test his game strategy, or not game strategy, just his game in general. Because now you got a young quarterback. You want to see where he's at. Can he handle pressure? We put it on him. Will he be able to throw himself out of it or run himself out of it or make the right decision to either throw the ball out of bounds or maybe complete some of the savvy passes that we see NFL quarterbacks can do when they're under pressure? But he wasn't quite up to slate right this week. They were able to put that pressure on him, sack him, and get a couple of interceptions off him as well, Alex.
Yeah. And the Packers' run defense, really, they allowed 33 yards. They shut down Pollard and Tajay Spears. The Titans were playing from behind, so they didn't have a lot of chance to run. But the other key guy that they shut down, Calvin Ridley, 1 catch for 9 yards on 3 targets.
Yeah, you talked about him last week, being a big threat. Yeah.
He's MIA, and he's got the speed of that offense. That's the guy that is going to run down the field and let Will Levis unleash his arm and kind of fire it downfield. But the Packers secondary, again, I didn't even know Calvin Ridley was in the game, honestly, when I watched most of this. And, you could not find him on the field. He was covered so well. And that, again, makes Will Levis hold the ball. There's a lack of a run game, so the box is loaded up. Or sorry, the box is spread out. You don't have to load the box. And it spelled disaster for the Titans, which is the exact game plan for the Packers. Fabulous run defense. Again, just 3 yards a carry allowed, 33 yards total. They were just feasting on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot of adjustments. They just kept, let's keep scoring. If anything, that was their adjustment to then just to make very few changes to the game plan and continue to get the ball down the field into the end zone. And the defense helped out with Zair's interception, pick 6 there. So any other, before we wrap this thing up, because it's not, we kind of hit all the big points here, but any takeaways from the win from this past weekend for the Packers?
As a good football analyst, I got to nitpick a little bit. So I'm going to turn it over on the Titans defense. Oh, my light shut off here a little bit.
You look better there. There you go.
On the Titans defensive side, they got to Malik Willis a little bit, and they had 6 tackles for loss in this game. They had 3 sacks. So that might be a little bit of Malik Willis holding the ball just because he's kind of new. He's been in this offense not even a month. So he's still learning some pieces. And that Packer O-line, not the best rushing performance that we've seen. We saw Josh Jacobs last week go for well over 100. And again, he just mastered 43. Malik Willis was doing most of his damage on the edge and scrambling. So I want to see a little bit more push from that Packer O-line to really dominate. And Titans, again, we've talked about their defense coming from the Mike Vrabel system. It still carries over. You got guys that love to smash mouth football. So it's not
and good tackling.
Yeah, great tackling team. So not an easy defense to run on, but that's what I need to see from the Packers moving forward to make this offense just even more elite. You're getting a lot of benefits with all these turnovers. You're getting short fields. So and pound, control a little bit more of that game up on the line of scrimmage. That'd be my one kind of nitpick is protect quarterback just a little bit more, which is hard to do in the league when you got guys paid a lot of money to go take them down.
No, 100%.
I think that's where some of the youth of the Packer offense will show later in the season. There's a lot more youthful offensive line than there was in previous years. And so you're really focused on, okay, what are our best run schemes? How are our best blocking set up? And then let's get these good, quick routes and get our ball out of the quarterback's hands so we can keep them safe.
Yeah, and that would be something that if Jordan Love returns this week or maybe the week after, that will return with him because he has that quick release. And right there.
And he's experienced with that offense. You have a guy, again, who's been in there for less than a month and is winning games and doing fabulous the way Malik Willis is playing. But still, there's a lot to learn for him in that offense in just a month's time.
Yeah, and he's learned a lot. He's been doing real well. Great passing the last couple of games. So again, some key takeaways. Obviously, not a lot of turnovers or no turnovers at all for the offense. So keep that in keep that box at a 0. And I'll say again, I agree with the protection. Just to solidify the upfront protection, because eventually this is going to be that week right here against the Minnesota Vikings defense. They got a top defense right now. So we'll find out. We'll talk about that and dissect that later this week. But yeah, fill up them holes and make sure any of the play calls, any of the audibles among the offensive line, they got everything down pat. So there's no misassignments there. And then for Malik, when he most likely will be starting this week, and make sure that he understands a little bit another layer of this West Coast offense from Matt LaFleur's point of view, to get him more indoctrined into all the audibles, little slight adjustments that he could talk to among the receivers out there being quarterback for the team.
I can't imagine the notebook that he's writing every week, because he's still on install stuff. Like, he's still on install stuff. Like, there's stuff they would have learned in training camp that he's learning now in week 3 and 4, because it's just so much to consume, and he's got to build it into the offense with the rest of the stuff. So I think he's been doing a fabulous job, and that's going to continue. As long as Jordan Love's out, and hopefully behind Jordan Love, being able to watch him play in that system now, whenever he does come back from injury. But a great win by the Packers. The Titans were actually favored in this game by 2.5.
They were, right.
So that's a big statement win to go into somebody else's house and double them up on points.
That's huge. And to your point, when you mentioned about note taking, I was the running back, and my notes were crazy back then between having quarterback Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. And so, when I was listening in film room review or the night before the game, I had a full page of notes every day, especially the night before the game. And I would go through them. And a lot of it I knew, but it was just repetitive to make sure I had it down pat. And so I'm pretty sure Malik is on that level. I mean, it showed in his gameplay. And if it's not, he just right now, you better start doing it and make sure he stays on top, because I'll keep him in the position he is. And then, like, paying it forward or looking far ahead, Green Bay in history time, looking back, they'll always groom quarterbacks that will get from other teams, and then eventually they will go out and become a prominent and dominant starter with another team. So this might be something, in the long game, if Malik doesn't stay back there for too long, and the way he's playing, obviously he could be an add-on to in the team in the coming years, 2025 and 2026 later on in his career, that he'll probably want to be the starter, but he'll have that experience, being here, learning from before, watching Jordan Love.
Absolutely. That's sitting behind somebody who's got a lot of experience and being able to understand more and more of each system, each game. And I can think of a couple teams off the top of my head that need a quarterback right now, and could be looking at the Packers' way like, hey, how would you want to trade this guy towards the end of the year, maybe next year or something? So I'm sure the Packers want to hold on to him as long as they can, because he's playing great ball. And when Jordan's out, you want a guy who's playing great ball behind him.
100%. So that's the wrap up on this Packers victory against the Tennessee Titans. Even though they had a good squad coming in, Will Levis, and they were on the home, it did not matter. Packers came with a big victory, a lot of turnovers, and a lot of sacks to Will Levis. I know we hit on it, but that unfortunate young guy. Thank God he's young, so he could take all them hits and recover later on.
They got the third meme too. Did you see that?
I know you text me about it.
There's a Packer, one of the sacks, the Packer player is just laying on top of Will Levis, and his head is just like swallowed up by the Packer. And then it's just like Will Levis's body laying on the ground with the head's missing because it's underneath the Packer defender. So that's meme number 3 for Will Levis. The Packers did it. They got the meme.
Well, at this rate, that means all 17 teams that they face this year will have memes by the end of the year at this rate. Which, if I'm Will, I'm like, hey, bro, we got to stop this. I was like, nah. Offensive line, let's get together. Let's go out to eat. Let's get to know each other. I don't know if I'm not your favorite guy, but let me be your favorite guy.
Yeah. Well, kudos on the Packers again, getting that meme and getting that big win on the road. That's a statement win.
Exactly. Big statement win for the Packers here. So we'll be back here in Bleav in Packers on Thursday to record again, but get more information out to preview the Vikings coming to Lambeau Field, which is always definitely now. It was back then and definitely now. It's a big rivalry, divisional matchup in Lambeau Field. The crowd is going to be amped up. It's not cold yet, so I was like always want the divisional matchup because it brings in kind of that feel of football when it's like 35 degrees and an inch of snow or a foot of snow on the ground, and then then Chicago comes in, or the Vikings come in, or the Lions come in. We don't have that. It's still summertime pretty much in Northeast Wisconsin. But that's okay. It's going to be a good game, though. It's going to be a great game, though. So, yeah, we'll see y'all in that preview for that matchup. I'm Ahman Green. This is Alex Fernando. This Bleav in Packers. Thanks for watching.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.